My name's Dave DeBoe, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Welcome back, folks. Today, our special guest zooming in from Akron, Ohio, Zach Zimmer, is a very accomplished real estate entrepreneur. Near and dear to my heart, he's been very, very heavily involved in rent to own deals. In fact, that kind of real estate investing helped him to retire at age 39 from corporate America. Then he kind of came out of retirement not that long ago, and he started really getting involved with different kinds of deals, leveraging his equity, leveraging his capital to really take things to the next level. So, Zach, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Love getting on and talking shop with folks.
So, Zach, we were talking a little bit before I hit record about your philosophy is really all about keep the money moving. So, what does that mean to you? So, for somebody who's not really familiar with that,
Yeah.
what the heck does that mean?
So here's the funny thing with how I even kind of became aware, started to think like that was in like 2016. I went to one of these real estate conferences that was the upsell, right? They open up credit cards in the back of the room. I mean, horribly deceptive. Like, I can't believe, I think most of those companies are done. But this was one of those where it was, hey, come for free. And then, oh, for $5.99, you can come to the next thing where we're going to show
Yeah,
you
the
and
three
teach you
the 3 day
this.
thing where we'll
Yep.
get into the real nuts and bolts of it.
Yep. And
Yep.
then at the 3 day, it was the upsell to the 1 week for
Yeah.
$30,000. And they open up a credit card for you. And fortunately, at that time, I had already had about 15, 20 properties. And although I hadn't wasn't thinking about this money moving thing, I was using leverage, but there was this great sales guy and he would lean back and he'd throw his hand around. He'd say, "You got to keep that money moving, keep that money moving." And me and a buddy that had gone, we were more experienced than anyone else in the room. That was what was kind of sad with, 15 properties, 20 properties.
Yeah.
And all these people were buying these $30,000 packages, getting their lanyard, and they were
Yeah.
hooting and hollering. And, we just kind of made fun of that whole process and how bad it was. And this guy showing his, but I was like, that's true. Like, that is right. In real estate, we don't want our money to become stagnant, right? That's why we love it, because real estate is the perfect vehicle to have money go in and money come back out, and we still control it. And, I think that's the biggest thing, right? The wealthiest people in real estate don't really own a lot. They control a lot, right? Leverage, arbitrage, right? And so that's the whole thing that I became kind of obsessed with is, yep, buying houses, getting good longer term debt on them, and buying more, right? For the
Mm.
first 7 years, it was buying 80 single families to hold and use purchase options on so that I could continue doing what I thought what I was supposed to do is get degrees and have large corporate jobs. And RTO gave me that passivity to focus on that until like I say, I took the red pill like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, and it opened
Mhm.
my mind. And then it was like, okay, no, this whole thing that I've created, this snowball, is really where it's at getting my life and my time back. And that's when, yeah, this whole keep the money moving in and out of houses until I have what feels like enough. And then what is the next vehicle to go
Mm.
into?
So
And
what was
that's
that? So what was that next vehicle, and how did you kind of come up with that
Yep.
epiphany that, hey, I want to build up a bit of a war chest here with the single family homes, the rent own deals, and then get into something else? What did that look like?
So this was 20, I believe, like 2017, 2018.
Mhm.
I had cash, just, the bank accounts were growing and I was slowing down. I had 60 some, maybe 70 single families, Northeast Ohio. I was like, man, that feels like a lot. That feels like let's diversify. And I got sidetracked, or I bought a trampoline park, right? One of these big 26,000
Yeah.
square feet, kids jumping around. We came across
That,
a great
that would
opportunity.
distract you. That would bounce your
Well,
attention around a few places, would it?
yes,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I looked at it and it was able to be purchased for about a third of what it was built for. And I had a friend who was good in like the systems and IT, and we looked at their website and everything was horrible. And we're like, you know what? We're going to turn this thing around. And it ended up being what I call, you never want to buy a job. And that's what we did. You know, I bought a
Yeah.
job with that, right? If you want a job, go work, right? Get your degrees, go get a job. If you're going to put your money in something, it should be passive. And so that was the first thing. But then in terms of putting more money, like lending became that real next avenue that was the right avenue of lending to folks at, good at that time, it was 12 points.
Mhm.
So a point a month at money that was sitting there that I'm not flipping anymore as much. I'm not growing with rentals as much. So the money just started to pile up without pushing it back out there.
Mhm.
Another term I
So
use is
you became a private money lender or a hard money lender?
Yes.
Bit of
Yep.
both.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, you call it private, but my rate was more like hard money.
All right.
Um,
Mm.
and that was the thing. I wanted the foot soldiers to go back out, right? You don't want them all sitting in the barracks. You need them out recruiting and growing. And shortly after that is when I became aware, or at least dipped finally into syndications, and also started that avenue in like 2018, 2019.
Mhm. So syndicating what? What kind of deals? What was your role as a syndicator? Were you a GP? Were you active in the deals or more on the raising
Nope.
capital side of things?
Just a limited partner. So I was an
Yeah.
investor in
Oh, you were the
syndications.
investor.
Yes,
Okay.
just an
Yeah.
investor.
Yeah.
And the first ones were hospitality. A great group focused out of New Jersey area and the East Coast, accountable equity, and they were turning around resorts and golf courses and wedding venues and wineries. And yeah, I had heard good things about them, did some investigations and said, yeah, like let's start getting into that's cool stuff, right? That's a lot cooler than single families in Northeast Ohio. And so that's where that started, and just
Now, were
researching
you
more
doing
of
were
those.
you doing the private lending to flippers at the same time, kind of doing
Yep.
both of those?
Yep.
Cool. All right.
And I love
And Zach, if you don't mind sharing, what does your real estate investing business look like snapshot today? What are you focusing on these days?
So today, so I'm back in growth again after selling off about 20 some single families, tenants that purchased, some retail flips, as a tenant was at have an eviction or something in a bad
Yeah.
house to turn all around, sell it, or to turnkey buyers. We have a lot of out of state turnkey. So I sold down to 40. I'm back up now to 46, 47 single family rent to own.
So
So I'm still
you're still
growing
doing the
that.
rent to own business, still
Yep.
active.
I
Okay,
love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Yep. I love it. And I give folks as long as they want. So, what I tell folks is there's a lot of predatory people that do rent to own, and they give them
Yeah.
a year and then they kick them out and want another deposit. I
Mhm.
have folks that have been in the same house for 8 years. And I really don't care if they ever buy it, if they buy it tomorrow, if they buy it in 10 years. I do it for an owner occupant mentality, and as long as they're taking care of it, I'm never going to move you out. You're earning equity and you can buy that house someday. So for
Plus
them,
theoretically,
yeah,
you're making better than average cash flow because it's a rent to own deal, right? So,
yep,
yeah,
they're taking care of it.
yeah,
So I'm growing that again. I have pulled back from private equity, just as you've probably heard, right? Interest rates are really squeezing the commercial, the private equity space. They bought these things at five cap, thinking they were going to exit at a 4.5. And you certainly can't exit anywhere when interest rates are pushing 7.
yeah.
So capital calls, I've just had a whole bunch of pain in across the private space where I said, okay, nope, back to what I know, back to where there's really a hard asset in my backyard, back to lending to people I know,
Okay,
all the
yeah,
things that I know.
yeah. I think a lot of LPs, well, a lot of syndicators, every everybody was making lots of money when things were go go go, and
Yep.
rising sea
Yep.
raises all boats, whether they know the captain knows what the hell he's doing or not.
Yep.
So I think,
And
yeah, it's a
a lot
challenge.
of it, immaturity for me, right? When I got into it was the hottest time.
Yeah.
And I have never been through a bad cycle. And one of the first syndications I went into sold like 9 months later at a 56% return. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is
It's
just this. Like, I found the
I just
sweet
won the
spot.
lotto, man. Yeah,
Like,
it's
yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, why am I buying these single families at 20, 25% returns when I can be doing this stuff? And so, yeah, I was throwing, yeah, I mean, I was doing 50, 100 grand a month. Like, as houses would sell, as money would come in, I was just picking off these deals. And I looked away from the conservative stuff because like, oh, I'm not going into this company at a targeted 12 or 13 IRR. Like, oh, I like this one at 26. And
yeah, yeah.
I believed people, and now, yeah, I believed people who were just these rocket ship guys, or they were too new. And so now there's a lot of concern and yeah, and issues out there in my side of the portfolio in the passive.
Well, hey, you know what? You're getting back to your roots. You know what works well for you. It is always a good experience to go through the downside of a market, right? Because that
Yeah.
really toughens a person up and gives you a whole different perspective and makes you appreciate
Yeah.
certain things a lot more. That's for sure. So, hey,
Yeah.
it's part of the game, man. It's just how things goes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're winning more than you're losing, and we certainly have, like we have a great life, and we don't really, not concerned of how anything's ever going to get paid, and so yeah, if I end up with, well, I'm going to end up with heavy six-figure losses on that side, and that's is what it is.
Yeah. So what now that you're getting back to the rent own business and private lending, what does the next 12 to 24 months look like for you, Zach? What do you got on the horizon? What are you planning to do?
So, I was just living my passive life for the last couple of years, right? Throwing into private equity, letting the RTOs just kind of run themselves. I wasn't buying a lot until I got back in last year. And I I fulfilled? Yeah, I'm golfing, I'm traveling, I'm shooting guns, I got my family, I'm doing all these trips, somewhat. But then when I went to a mastermind, did a Tony Robbins exercise, the life wheel of life, and there was
Mhm.
an area that I scored myself really poorly in contribution. And a couple of the folks there were like, yeah, we've been telling you, why aren't you podcasting? Why aren't you coaching and teaching and building a brand out there? And oh man, I don't know. Like, people would just think I'm hurting if I'm out there, and I'm not. I'm not a big social guy, and so finally after that, I was like, what do I have to lose? And so that's what, the last 6 months for me, presented at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference on, my model and what I've done, and my, this brand that I've now created, the passive life. And so my time now really, that I am spending on work, the little bit I'm setting aside is focused on the podcast and on building a brand, on teaching and coaching, to try and create this big life, this big network, right? Because I have a small network here in Ohio, and I've got a place in Florida. And so, but like, I want to know people all over the country, all over the world that either I'm networking with, I've helped, that I can create this bigger life and impact others, and selfishly have people to go hang with and go have good times with, and maybe do deals together, right? Maybe I can and
Yeah,
find some great folks to do deals with. So for me, it's my bread and butter in terms of investing, but building a bigger life through my experience in real estate.
very cool. Very cool. So Zach, as we're wrapping things up, if people say, "Hey, that passive life idea sounds pretty cool," or I'd like to find out more about how Zach does rent own or how Zach does the private lending, or just get in touch with you, what's the best way for people to do that?
Yeah, so the main way, I've put together my top 5 strategies to seven-figure passive income, and I'll give that out here for free. So all they have to do is text TPL for the passive life, TPL
APL. Mhm.
to 33777. So again, TPL to 33777. They'll get my top 5 strategies to seven-figure passive income. That'll have all my contact info and everything, and see, if they're interested from there. There's a lot of ways to connect.
That's wonderful. Hey, well, Zach, thanks for sharing a little bit of your experience, your real estate experience, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's never a smooth smooth ride for anybody if they've been around this for long enough. And I appreciate you kind of shining the light on it. It's not all sunshine and flowers all the time, that's for sure. But congratulations on pivoting and kind of finding this purpose. I know that that resonates a lot with me. It's not just about the money. It's not just about the partnerships. It's about providing value. And quite honestly, that's what I tend to remember the most is people that reach out and say, "Hey, you had an impact. You made a difference." That's a great thing to do. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's fun.
All right, everybody, take care, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.